How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? This is my third time trying this because the first one wasn't working out. The second one, my lapel mic that I usually clip on me decided to die. And the third time is now. So we have breaking news to get into that I'm going to say right off the riff. I also apologize if my audio is not great. If you hear background noises, why? Because I'm on the side of a highway. I still have a multi-hour drive back home after being out of town for the weekend. But I saw the notification, pulled over right away. We have to discuss it. No stopping Mets coverage here at WardyNYM. So make sure to smash that like and subscribe button for your boy before I hit back on the road. And again, Queen's Corner live podcast out tonight around 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Anthony Recker. We have a lot to say about this Mets team, a lot of frustration to share, and a lot of key updates on this Mets team and what the future may hold for them when it comes to the coaching staff and also internally amongst its players. But we have a key update to get into, so let's discuss it. And that is, as many of you have seen over the past hour at the time of recording this, the Mets have signed to a minor league contract. Drumroll, please. Former Yankee, most recently with the Brewers, in which he did really well against the Mets, of course, when the Brewers swept the Mets in Milwaukee earlier this year. First baseman / DH and Luke Voit to a minor league deal, and he will start there in AAA Syracuse. So raw reactions, I want to know them in the comments below. First, you had Gary Sanchez for, a week, and then now you're bringing in another former Yankee that was once a big slugger for them and has since been a shell of what he once was, that being in Luke Voit. Remember when Yankees fans actually had the audacity to call out Luke Voit as better than Pete Alonso? It's funny how things, change over a short period of time, because don't get me wrong, Voit was the MVP of baseball there in the 2020 shortened season, but there's a reason why it was a small sample size. Dom Smith and Michael Conforto both had like 1,000 OPS, especially Dom. There's a reason why you can only take small sample sizes like that to an extent, for what they are at that moment. But point being, the Mets signed Voit, and your raw reactions are probably like, why did the Mets do this? As I'm feeling the same way. I'm head scratching. I know we'll find out more details in the coming 24, 48, 72 hours, but my raw reaction is this feels like a signing the Mets did, and I could be completely wrong. This is just gut talking right now. So if you like Wardy's gut, great. If you don't, because I've been wrong plenty of times, then don't listen to it. But my gut feeling is that the Mets are not going to give Mark Vientos consistent reps still, even without Alonso being in the lineup for the next month, which I'm in heavy disagreement with. And I think a latest example of that is Mark Vientos again 0 for 2 yesterday in the Mets 2-1 loss in the 8th. Again, all he needs to do is barrel a baseball. He's one of the few guys on the roster that you could confidently say when he barrels one, there's a great chance for it to hit out of the park. That's why he had 13 bombs in AAA this year in a month and a half, 2-month time. He was killing it to start the year in AAA, and of course had a bomb in his first game with the Mets, and hasn't done much since then, but he hasn't been getting consistent playing time. It's almost like that hurts a player's young development and mentality. Call me crazy, Buck. I know, but Buck decides that Apo Luis Gourmet, a slap-hitting hitter who hasn't done well at all this year, hasn't been that OBP guy that you'd expect either, recently called up, and Gourmet comes in to pinch hit in that situation. Why does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. As simple as that. And he strikes out via pitch clock violation. So the latest example of Buck's lack of trust in Mark Vientos and lack of willingness to give a leash to Mark Vientos the way that he has in Alvarez and now Beatty, in which they have both thrived to a certain extent. Beatty, of course, has had his growing pains, but still has been productive overall. And then Alvarez, again, is arguably the best catcher in baseball right now. That is a true argument that we can have with how well he's been playing and swinging the bat, and defensive metrics have been absolutely fantastic with his frame jobs. But point being is, because of the fact that the Mets have been wary, mainly Buck, on how much playing time he's going to give Vientos, and what feels like there's a slight divide potentially between Vientos and, not Vientos, Buck and Epler, because Epler is the one who called him up in the first place. I find it hard to believe that Epler's in favor of kind of giving this such limited role to Vientos, because it doesn't only hurt his development when he's not playing well, it hurts his trade value too. So from Epler's aspect, I don't see a role where this makes sense for him. But for Buck, it seems like the Mets may have came to the conclusion that, okay, if you're not going to give him consistent playing time, we don't want to hurt his development any longer. We are going to send Vientos down, and we're going to bring up Luke Voit to see if he has any last juice in that bat that he can help provide for this Mets team in the short term leading up for at least the next couple weeks to a month. I'm not too sure. For all I know, the Mets aren't going to give Luke Voit even one rep there in the bigs, which is what I hope happens. I think you need to give Vientos as much of a leash as possible. Doesn't matter how good or bad his at-bats are. You need to give him a leash if he's going to be on this club. Give him consistent playing time. See what you have in him for a month span of him playing every single day at DH or first base with Alonso out. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's okay. It means he's not ready. And yes, it may hurt his trade value even more. You still want to know what you have in him versus sitting there wondering, oh, what could have been, because because you decide to be stubborn and not give him consistent playing time. So this feels like a move that is more so the Mets wanting to bring up a short-term option and not wanting to hurt the development and trade value further of Mark Vientos, who is destined to thrive as soon as he's sent back down to AAA, should he be sent down. Again, I could be completely wrong, so if I am, another day that ends in Y, but just my raw reaction and gut reaction to this potential move, why the Mets did it. And of course, you're hearing a lot of other rumblings. Ronnie Mauricio, right? We're going to talk about later tonight in our show. Is Ronnie going to be called up this week? Because Carlos Baerga, former Met, has been reporting the past couple of years, has been right about things, has been wrong about things, and he stated yesterday that, he thinks Ronnie Mauricio is in fact going to be called up as soon as the Subway Series, which begins tomorrow against those Yanks, in which I'll be in attendance for probably both games. So be on the lookout for your short schmuck boy in attendance for a big Subway Series matchup without Alonso and Judge, unfortunately, but always still a good time watching the two teams battle it out in the Subway Series. But if Ronnie's going to be called up, okay, that's cool. Make sure he's playing every day. Simple as that. Second base, left field. Had an MRI, having an MRI as we speak, right around there, because his ankle flared up again. So I don't know if that kind of puts the Mauricio rumors to bed. Not sure. Again, the Mets' biggest issue, aside from their inconsistent offense, is still their pitching staff and their bullpen. So that too needs to be, accounted for. However, the Mets did just call up infielder Luke Ritter to they moved him up to AAA from AA, was raking in AA, playing first base, second base, third base. So he's a guy that's going to get more reps now at the AAA level, a step closer, potentially making his Mets debut at some point. The Mets feel he's worthy of calling up. But the Mets could have also made that move if they are in fact going to commit with bringing up Ronnie this week as basically a replacement there at second base. So something to follow in regards to the Ronnie Mauricio front, and we have other updates as well that we've seen from Mike Vasile being called up to the AAA level, and he has been arguably the Mets' best pitcher in their organization outside of the big league club when it comes to being a starter. So he's one step away now from making his Mets debut potentially as soon as this season. We've seen some other updates as well, and also former Met that we've interviewed last year on the channel, Daniel Murphy, has signed a minor league contract with the LA Angels, so keep an eye on him. But Mets fans, I want to know your thoughts down below. How are you feeling about this entire situation? How are you feeling about the Mets, again, signing Luke Voit to a minor league deal? Do you think he's going to get playing time? Could he have a potential opt-out the way that Gary Sanchez did if the Mets don't call him up by a certain point? What are they going to get from him, if at all? Whatever your thoughts are, again, make sure to drop them down below. We'll expand on this more later tonight, but I want to get this quick hitter out there for you all. A lot of Mets updates in Mets land right now. A lot of turmoil that feels like it's inevitably going to be happening in the next couple weeks to months. So stay tuned and make sure you're following the channel for all your Mets coverage and needs. And again, thank you so much for watching. Luke Voit's a Met. Gary Sanchez is killing it with the Padres. Kind of wish we had Gary Sanchez to fill in that DH role, banging from the right side if, we're doing this with Voit now. But it is what it is. Let me know what you think, guys. That's all I got. And as always, no matter what, let's go Mets. Peace out.